Don and I just listened to a podcast on the life of Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens in 1936 won 4 gold medals in track and field at the Olympics in Berlin, Germany. Adolf Hitler did not shake his hand once. We as Americans were outraged by that. When Jesse Owens came home to America, we celebrated him for 10 days, and then it was straight to the back of the bus for him. He couldn't even earn a living for his family. That is hypocrisy. Friends, I'm going to say something I believe is absolutely true. A lack of humility guarantees hypocrisy. Let me say it again. A lack of humility guarantees hypocrisy. And so we have hypocritical people in our world, which means we have hypocritical family systems, hypocritical friends groups, hypocritical churches, hypocritical athletic organizations, hypocritical businesses, hypocritical political parties, hypocritical countries, and we live in a hypocritical world. This is a big problem. This might be the root of all of our problems. Peter, of all the disciples, probably had the personality that would tend to be most prideful. And Peter said this, he said, humble yourself. In other words, Peter said, humility is an act of the will. We have to want to be humble, which means that, man, that humility or that hypocrisy is going to come up from our heart. I had a friend who had a bad heart, and the doctors didn't say, I think we can just tweak some things. They said, no, you need a new heart. And they gave him a new heart. That's what we need. We need a new heart. And then Peter says, humble yourself under God's mighty hand. In other words, God is the one that can give us that new heart. He can take the hard heart out and give us a new, softer heart. But this is the hard part for us, is we have to humble ourselves under God's mighty hand. And we have been under people before, and they have hurt us. And what we have to do is we have to try to understand or take the risk or believe for a moment that God is like no other and put ourselves under him. And we have to put ourselves under his care and under his correction, under both. So Peter says, humble yourself under God's mighty hand that he may lift you up. Now, we like that part. We like the lift up part. In fact, we like it so much, we like to lift ourselves up. But here's the thing. God will lift us up. And when he lifts us up to just the right location. Not too high, not too low. But it's in due time. And I think that's where the big challenge comes. It's in his timing. I have lived most of my life believing that God is true, that the things that God says are true, that the things that God does are true, but I've struggled like many that God's timing is true. And here I am, 54 years old, realizing that God's timing is true, which means that my timing, our timing, is false. So Peter says, humble yourself under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. And then it takes like this weird turn, and he says, cast all your anxieties on him. Notice the assumption. He doesn't wonder whether or not we have anxiety. He assumes that we all have anxiety. We all do. And I think sometimes we think that we're the only ones. You know, he says, cast all of your anxieties, right? God wants all of our anxieties, right, to be cast upon him. How do we do that? I think a couple ways is that we speak our anxieties to God. And then at times we speak our anxieties to other people that we trust. I'm not a fisherman, but I understand that fishing has a lot of casting. I think you could probably call it casting because there's a lot of casting, a little bit of catching. And I think that's how it is with our anxieties. We continue to cast our anxieties. We don't just do it once. We continue to cast our anxieties on him. So, right, humble yourself under God's mighty hand that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxieties on him. Here it is. Because he cares for you. That's truth. That's my word this year. That's truth, because he cares for you. And I love the fact that he did not use the word love. Because I think so often we can see the word love and just say that's an affection or an emotion. No. This is an action. God will perform the actions of caring for us. God is not a hypocrite. Okay, so a lack of humility guarantees hypocrisy. So, let's be humble. Thank God it's Monday.